An important poll, it was called the Early Childhood Education Perception Poll, was held last year, and the results were just released in the fall of '09 by Pearson Foundation. And it came up with some major conclusions about what people know or don't know about early childhood education. And one of the ones that I think is most important to us is that most Americans have little understanding of the literacy gap, as they call it in quotes, that disproportionately affects children from low-income households. And that's always, it harkened me back to when I was reading through this Preventing Reading Difficulties in Young Children. I mean, this is what public librarians have always, well, a lot of public librarians have always felt is their most important mission, is to get to those children at risk or in difficult situations, which however you want to define them, so that they become regular library users and know that this library is theirs. And the other conclusion is all Americans agree, and this is pretty important, I think, change, that reading to kids under 5 is the best method to develop early childhood literacy skills. So the good news to me in that was I don't have to start my conversation with convincing them that's important. Most folks get that. But what they don't know is a majority of low-income families do not have books for children in their homes. And that is one of the key indicators. I think if you have 10 books or more, most likely that child has had sufficient comfort with books and familiarity with books so that when they start kindergarten, they'll not need this intensive intervention that other children will. So I think that's an important poll for us in the library world. Again, an example of looking outside our own profession and looking at the external environment and see what's going on out there that we can then say, we can be a solution to that, or one of the solutions to that. And I don't think anybody anymore says they've solved the problem. I think we all know, as Stephanie said, that we have to work together and collaborate. And when you go out there and you start talking in these terms, in early literacy, and speaking in the other folks' language, you become a very credible partner. And they will start working with you, and then you can start figuring out how you can partner with them without obviously bleeding the organization. We have birth to grave, so we have a lot of other obligations. But I truly believe that if you sit down and talk with folks, you can find a reasonable service and a reasonable amount of resources to provide to help them serve these children. Because there is a desperate need for these children in families that do not have books in their home and don't even understand what that building on the corner is all about, because they have never been in it. So you need to do very time-consuming outreach to make it a comfortable place for them.
Yeah. I think many of us become librarians because we appreciate the social intimacy that is established between the reader and what they're experiencing from the book. And probably one of the most satisfying things that public librarians experience is to create these intimate moments that are not tested. We are the only place, and we're the ones to say to parents, tell a story from the pictures, even if you don't know the words. So we are fostering those intimate social moments so that when a child goes into school, they know they are capable of the experience.
And it's very important for parents and child care providers to know that so much learning and growth goes on outside of classes, outside of academic environments. I would imagine there's a research study out there that shows it's maybe 50-50, if not more. And the library provides that. The library provides a non-threatening, comfortable, or should, environment, and removes that stress and stigma of schools that a lot of people had when they were growing up, or even if you didn't have an unsuccessful school career, quite frankly, the last place I would like to take my child when they're not in school is another school environment. They need to understand that a library and finding good books is serendipity and casual and walking around and just learning the library and discovering it on your own rather than being directed like you tend to have in a school environment. So the library is a special niche, and we should never forget that, and we should always talk in terms of that, and not allow ourselves to be sucked into school terminology and total education terminology, because then, I mean, my nightmare is, as Stephanie referred to, the testing, is that somebody's going to bring in a standardized test to us for our customers, and that this shows whether they have been effective users of the library or not. It sounds far-fetched, but I believe anything these days in terms of the educational testing mania that has taken over our country. But that's why I think libraries are such a special tax-supported organization. We are serendipity, and we are of choice. And that is huge. I think that so many people by choice want to come into that building and satisfy their curiosity and learn on their own. And that's what makes us so powerful.
Now, it's said that education is what happens outside of the schoolroom. And when we look at this law that says we are essential components of the educational system, it elevates what it means to be an educator. It doesn't mean that we have lesson plans, curriculums. It means that you can succeed in a very wide, amorphous environment that meets your individual.